Welcome to Rubin On Point, a podcast about cancer, resilience, and being human. I'm Dr. Dan Rubin, and together we'll uncover the true power of resilience, the strength to recover, adapt, and thrive through life's toughest challenges. Each episode will bring bold ideas, transformative practices, and inspiring stories that redefine what health, healing, and what the human spirit can achieve. And you're going to meet some really cool people along the way. If you're ready to turn obstacles into opportunities and live with greater purpose and courage, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Your journey to resilience begins now. Welcome to Rubin On Point, the podcast about cancer, about resilience, and most of all about being human. We're talking today with Mr. Fuentes, a new and good friend and colleague, and somebody who's going to really help us dig deeply into what it means to be human, really on the mental emotional, because he is a mental performance coach. So welcome to our podcast. It's
Thank
been
you.
great to get to know you over the last several months, get to know the type of work that you do, to be able to refer to you, to be able to work alongside you. I'm excited to really dig in on this platform where we have no distractions. We're just going to talk about what you do and the depth with which you help people, because as far as I know, you are really a mental performance coach for people. You do deal with a lot of people in higher executive positions, performance athletes, professional athletes, and so happy that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. What does it mean to be a mental performance coach for you?
Yeah. Well, it means the first getting right myself. That's how it all started. For me, it means walking the walk. And I never planned on doing this, but over 20 years ago, I was a mess and everything.
Did you have a plan?
No, I was in finance and just doing my thing, but living up programming based off of how I was programmed through my experiences as a child that we then just live in our lives. And for me, it was a lot of pain and struggle, a lot of battle in
Growing up.
yeah. And also in Ohio, in a small town called Liberty Center, great place to grow up.
Okay. Was there a high school there?
Yep. High school there. I graduated with 74.
Oh, wow. Okay, this well.
Yeah. Really great community. But still being a Latino kid and in a small town in Midwest Ohio had its challenges.
And this was when? Was it 70s, 80s?
Geez, now you're trying to make me think.
I'm a kid of the 80s.
Yeah, so it was 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. I was born in 74, so
Yeah, so it was 80s.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, I got to a point in my life at about 29 where I was just messed up in every container. And I didn't even know it. I thought I had it all.
In Ohio.
No, I was in Phoenix at the time.
Okay.
And then ultimately just went on this journey to just figure out what my brain was doing.
Was it a deliberate journey, or were you just found yourself on the journey?
Found myself on the journey, met with this amazing woman who just first talked to me about how I was showing up and not loving myself, not seeing myself. And I just kind of thought she was full of it because, of course,
Who was this woman? Why was she able or allowed to tell you that?
just because she had no filter. And
Was she a counselor? Or was she a friend?
she was neither. She was a coach of some kind, but she was really a spiritual teacher
Okay.
that I just happened upon through a friend experience.
Okay.
And as a result, he was also a teacher of Reiki and then other very natural things. And so this is a long time ago. This is early 2004, 2005-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started just taking her Reiki class. And that is what opened the door for me to tap into a different frequency, energy, mindset. I didn't know it at the time. It's not like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I just trusted her because of how powerful she showed up in her life.
You could feel her energy, but and yours jived with her.
Yeah.
Say, I mean, that's part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, she was lifting the veil over these illusions I had put around myself of needing to fight or thinking I had things figured out. And so I slowly went on this personal journey, and she just coached me through different levels of Reiki to the point of Reiki master. But really, most of the journey was on my own, just figuring.
But you were 29 in Phoenix somehow, in finance, doing well in an executive type position, but still lost.
not doing well.
Okay.
Financial upside down in debt. Okay. Emotionally upside down, emotionally in bed. Um, physically, was my body was pretty messed up at the time.
Okay.
So, and then it just all started to unwind. I started working inward. I started doing a lot of visualization work, a lot of meditation work, a lot of Reiki energy work on myself.
Okay.
And that's what shifted my program. And what I did in hindsight, after 2 years of just personal development work, people started looking at me like, yo, what are you doing?
And you're still in your finance.
Yeah, who are you? How did you change? By that time, my finances were better. My emotions were better. I was looking like completely different.
Did you dress differently?
Not so much,
Okay.
but I definitely, every area of my life was different.
Did you change your diet?
Yeah,
Okay.
changed my diet.
Did you change your sleeping patterns?
Not so much at that time. I mean, we all kind of grow a little.
About 20 years ago. Maybe 8. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's when people are like, can you help me? I'm like,
Really?
yeah. They're like, you did it for yourself. Can you help me? I'm like,
They watched your transition.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know where to start with this. And so I just did a lot of mental work, a lot of reflection on that, and just kind of thought through, if I could create a system that was measurable, repeatable, tangible, what would it even look like? How did I even do it for myself? Because I had wanted to change behaviors for a long time, but thinking through them didn't work. And so what did I actually do to change my programming, my psyche? And that the understanding meditation, understanding the science behind meditation, visualization, essentially brain training at the time, which wasn't really a thing. I understood that I was putting myself in theta and delta frequencies.
Okay.
And as a result of doing a lot of that work, I was able to tap into theta and delta frequencies while I was conscious.
Can you explain what theta and delta frequencies are?
So we have different frequencies our brain operates in. And there's gamma, which is just hearing noises. So if I tap on a table, your brain will hear that. That goes through a frequency called the gamma. Beta frequency is logic and intellect. When you want to put together a series of thoughts based on, well, what's the sound? What's he do? Oh, that must be this, that. You're thinking logically. That's in the front brain, prefrontal cortex. That's the beta frequencies. Alpha frequency is the creative mind. And that is where a lot of artists live. And it's also why when artists really live there and they don't operate in a lot of other frequencies, it's hard for them to work with math or numbers or logic, business sense. And it's not because they're not smart, because they're incredibly smart. It's just they don't fire in those frequencies normally, so it's hard to process. Then when we go to bed at night, we're in theta and delta. And theta is REM sleep, delta is deep sleep. And these are in the back brain, in the subconscious part of the brain. And that's where you generate a lot of energy to heal, to recover, to reset yourself from a whole day's worth of doing stuff. The challenge is at night when you go to bed, you have no ability to dictate where that energy goes. It goes to whatever it's needed most. So if you just had a really hard workout, it's going to go to that first before you actually recover.
You mean to your muscles and to joints, to connective tissue.
If you're sick, it goes to healing. You have sickness. And
Are you talking about your theta energy?
Theta and delta. When you're in sleep, theta and delta, you're generating energy.
Okay.
Just like a phone gets plugged into the wall and gets charged up, we are using theta and delta frequencies to charge us.
Okay.
But that energy then that charge goes to healing if you're sick or recovering. And if you're
based on the wisdom of the body, it knows where to channel that energy.
That's right. That's right. But what if we could tap into that frequency, both theta and delta, while we're conscious? And then we could direct that energy where we want it to.
Are you talking about intentionally and purposefully?
Correct. And so that was the system that I developed based off of the personal work I did. Was a system that allowed us to tap into theta and delta frequencies while we were conscious and direct the energy into rewiring the back brain, the neural net of the brain, so that you could take and change old patterns and create new patterns with this supercharged energy. Because the challenge with trying to talk to you intellectually or through the prefrontal cortex, i.e. gamma and beta frequencies, is I can say, hey, does that behavior work for you? And you're like, no, I don't want to have it. Okay, well then stop.
Like what?
Like
an obsessive.
I get obsessive compulsive.
Retail therapy.
Short to anger, whatever. And most people know what they don't want to fire in.
Okay.
But just because you intellectually understand it doesn't mean that you can actually change the back brain's mapping, the wiring of the neuron.
Is everybody capable of this?
Everyone is. It's a natural thing. In fact, the fact that you go to bed at night proves that you're capable of tapping into theta and delta frequency.
You mean go to sleep?
Go to sleep, and then it's just simple training to get yourself tapped into it during the day. And it takes putting your body into a state of a rhythmic breath, a state of opening up the flow or channel of the body so it can kind of let go. And those simulate two things that happen when you go to bed. And then the third one would be then working into alpha, which then puts you, it's like the gateway between the front brain and the back brain, alpha is. And if we can simulate a rhythmic breath, open flowing body, and start working in the alpha, and we tied them all together using this breath to anchor in thoughts, feelings, images, using the body to flow and breathe the images in, it will naturally put your brain into theta and delta frequencies. And if you can do that while you're conscious and then associate new programming in that state, that's what will change your.
You help counsel people to be able to do those three things, which let's put those apart for a little bit, and then train them to be able to get themselves in a non-sleep state and to engage theta and delta in their brain.
Yeah. And so it's a beautiful conversation where there's awarenesses to how their brain is firing, because it is that system. But then the big part of that is understanding, well, what is it firing and now, and how do we want to rewire it? And that's where an amazing organic conversation happens, where just over the years, I've been able to develop an ability to understand where people are at mentally, to hear their patterns or thought patterns and where they're taking them, to even break down things from when they were younger and how that feeds how they're programmed today. I had to do that for myself first, and then was able to hold that space for others as well.
Do you enjoy doing the work that you do?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm assuming here that you're not getting a QEEG 19-point brain scan and looking at the brain map and then deciding what they need to do. You're doing it more clinically based, and you talk to your clients and get to understand their patterns, and probably takes a pretty trusting and deep sort of client practitioner relationship, I would think.
Yeah.
So some of your clients then, have they worked with other people and have not been as successful, but then utilized your method and they've been able to tap into what they need to tap into?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been referral based from the beginning, and so everyone that has been referred to me is because somebody else got great results. But the cool thing about this work is it's you're in the driver's seat of your own life. I tell people, like, part of this is me being a personal trainer for the brain, a personal trainer for the body. You come, they'll assess you.
Yep. Okay.
And you'll tell them what injuries, what challenges you have. Well, also you'll tell them what goals that you have. And so then they'll take all that into consideration, and then they'll write a workout for you. But if you don't do the workout, you're not getting any stronger.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
And it's the same way with the brain. We talk, we assess what's going on in your mind, how your thought patterns are affecting you. And then we put together a workout to counter and to rewire those things. But the real work starts every morning. You wake up and do the brain training, and there's guided audio.
You give them it's a guided what?
Guided audio, custom designed.
Oh, you record something
at the end of each session.
Got it. At the end of each session, you record what they're going to work on until the next session?
At the end of each session, we do a guided brain training, but it's recorded specifically. They do it real time and it's recorded.
Got it.
And they've experienced it with me. And then every morning they do it consistently until our next session.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And then you record another personalized one based on the movement that they made or the progress that they made.
That's right.
What are some of the things that are tougher for you to help people with? For instance, if there was ancestral issues in somebody's life, are there things that provide bigger challenges to you, or does it really depend on the person?
The biggest challenge is when somebody isn't doing the work. But as far as who's come to me and what they've come to me for, it's anyone that is wanting to work on themselves. And sometimes the motivation is making more money. Sometimes, because I have high net worth clients as well, and those clients have everything, but yet aren't happy still. And so they don't have
happiness.
They're missing purpose. They're missing like their identity. And you wouldn't think, and we're talking even famous people who are very famous, both as actors and musicians and athletes, and they don't know who they are. And so those people will come to me for that. Sometimes they just come to me because they want to
Well, do
perform.
actors get caught up in their roles, perhaps?
Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of times they have to play in all these different emotions.
Yeah.
And
They have to force themselves to cry or to do something.
yeah, and so a lot of times they'll use, just like musicians too, they'll use a lot of heavy emotion to create this very wide dynamic experience of acting, if you will, or even performing in music. And that's a lot of cycling pain and struggle in your life. And so it gets really hard to detach.
Does the brain, in this context of an actor or an actress, does the brain know when they're acting and when they're not acting when it comes to emotions?
The firing is the firing. So you can watch something. You don't even have to be an actor, but if you are, it's the same thing. What we watch, and we're watching something scary, our brain doesn't discern the difference between reality and what you're processing, and it'll release the same chemicals. Same with somebody who's acting, same with anyone who's feeling fear, doubt, or worry. Those chemicals are going through the body. And that's where, by the time they get to you, for whatever reasons and wherever they're at, they've had a ton of chemicals processing through their body, their physical body, because of the emotional body and how it's firing. That's disrupted organs, disrupted functions, created a unhealthy environment, an acidic environment that then, as you know, because of the work you do, that's what you're unwinding, is all those dysfunctions in the body.
Well, when you're in an alpha state during the day, or in a gamma firing during the day when you hear something, the type of neurochemistry that we're looking at or that's ensuing in our body is more just trying to combat or normalize or provide us some protection or ability to biochemically and physiologically deal with whatever we're encountering during the day, right? But theta and delta are at night when we're restful, we're parasympathetic, we're getting in, our brain is in a much different state, obviously. Now, we could be deep dreaming in delta, right? And we could be having nightmares, which then but that's usually more rare. But what I'm saying is that the physiological and tangible and measurable representations of brain states are different based on what's going on during the day and what's going on at night in a regular, normal, everyday person. So to be able to, last part of this, so to be able to teach somebody to gain theta and delta sort of on demand or during the daytime or during a particularly challenging time is really interesting, because you really can change not only neurochemistry, but whole physiology as well. Is that true?
Yeah. And in fact, to take it one step further, if you think of the brain like a computer, and the front brain is like the short-term memory or the RAM. And essentially, when we are trying to do life, the front brain was never meant to process it and store everything. It was meant to process here, take it to the back brain, understand what you're processing, take it back to the front brain, and then output it as, oh, this is this.
So when we need it, it comes from here to here.
Yeah, because the back brain is the bigger CPU. But to put this in like a physical form, it'd be like having a library, right? And having a single table. And instead of going and putting all the books away and then bringing books as you need them, every book you need, you put on the table. And then you just keep stacking them up. Now you need another book that you were referencing before. Instead of going to the reference and then grabbing it and pulling it, putting it on the table, you've now got to dig through all of these things. And the table wasn't designed to hold all of these books. You know, the front brain wasn't designed. So now you and I are interacting in an everyday life. And I'm just trying to listen and I'm trying to pay attention. What are you saying? Like, or what's going on? How are you talking? In my head, the front brain is so full with all these books on the table, so to speak, that I'm just a little cloudy, a little foggy, versus operating from the back brain, processing in, putting things in the back. What's happened in society is we stopped using as much of the back brain to be our store and our power, and we've just used a lot more front brain. And due to phones and everything facing forward, what I call instant gratification disease, you know, where everyone's just now.
Is there less? Well, and then we have artificial intelligence and we have the internet, so there's less need for the storage back here, and there's not as many books. I mean, maybe we don't need as many books on the table because, you know, you don't have to memorize as much anymore, it seems.
But regardless, it's just still not using the back brain. You also have stress and worry. It's spinning out the front brain RPMs. There's much more to be stressful, much more worry, much more going on in the world. And
Different types, different magnitudes. So if we compare the CPU and the forebrain for you and I today here, but the same people our age back in 1723 or 892 or 7, the stresses were different. And the amount of information that we needed to process was quite different.
and things were slower.
Yeah.
Things you think about talking to somebody, you're not just on your phone, full access all the time, instant. And so everything was slower, sending a post, carrier pigeon, like these are real things. And so we had more ability to take time. Like, oh, I'm waiting for somebody to do something, and we can float back into the back brain, stay more.
I'm tremendously interested in this. And really, as we're talking, thinking about what a brain I mean, it's the same architect today as it was back in 892, right? 1492 or whatever. But there was so much less to deal with back then. But the magnitudes of things that we may minimize today were gigantic back then, I would think. Do you think that there's more neural connectivity and neuroplasticity now as there was back then? Or do you think there was the same amount, but we're just utilizing more given all of the things we're bombarded with in a given 24-hour period?
It's really interesting. There's not a lot of research or study on this, but if you think about how muscles, if we don't use them, we lose them. And you can train as long as you want, and then the minute you stop and you're out for a month, you're going to have some degradation.
I tell patients that your muscles will grow or shrink to the size of which they're needed.
Okay. Same with the brain. And so the front brain has been more overloaded, and it has more thicker, denser tissue than it used to. And the back brain has been less utilized. And so it has less activity in it because it doesn't need.
Now, you mean nowadays?
Days. And so you have this thicker, denser here.
Neural connectivity is more work because of devices.
It's not just devices, it's life in general. It's the human construct that we live in. It's just everything has evolved and it just has ramped up. And
is it a problem or is it just what it is? Do you think we're headed to, I don't know where we're headed. I don't know what AI is or chips, what the future holds neurologically, but I guess I should ask it, do you see problems ahead?
We are a beautiful society of human construct that has yet to figure out how to coexist in harmony. That's part of
with each other,
with the world, with Mother Earth. And ideally, we'll get there. I don't know if we ever will, but at the end of the day, if we do, it's going to be great. If not, none of us will be able to do anything.
Why do you think this has been so hard for our species?
Over time, when you just operate in the front brain and you're just operating in the short term and in the survival mode of life, you're not thinking in the back brain in the deeper understanding, the deeper wisdom of not only the universe or Mother Earth, or even the deeper wisdom of the whole of humanity. You're just operating in a short-term firing in a small faculty in the brain where emotions aren't regulated. Greater vision it's not designed. The front brain's not designed for that. And so we just keep getting pushed from the brain, which means less deeper thinking, less greater wisdom, less full vision of understanding. And so that's one of the biggest things my clients get back is not only that greater understanding, that greater vision for their lives, for themselves, a greater purpose,
human interconnectedness,
everything. And they make more money. They do greater things. They go to the next level in life.
the human interconnectedness part, and you had mentioned it before, saying that, learning to live alongside with each other, because there's a lot of violence in the world. And I'm wondering if greed and power are somehow at the root of some of what you're talking about, or some of the problems that is, we are beings of nature. I believe at least that however we came to exist here, we certainly do. And we didn't have the technology 1,000 years ago that we do now, because it's all been so, quick to develop. And so our brains have changed more in the last 40 years, probably maybe more in the last 17 or 18 years than they maybe have ever before, acceleration wise, I'm speaking. And I'm wondering if the notion of what we're talking about and the distraction that we have from nature and from each other, because you said we've never learned to live along in this natural world, but I think we had, and we've come from it, and we need to get back to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And so I'm wondering if greed and power are somehow inherently then written into the human psyche or construct somehow, because they seem to be powerful, keeping us here in the front brain.
Yeah,
Is that accurate?
Yeah, but the root of greed and power is just survival. So they're just how survival shows up.
Okay.
And humans today is in these versions of greed, power, even violence. It's all about survival of us individually, and not as a collective whole, but just me in survival and whatever I need to do to survive. And if it's against you, it's against you.
But there seems to be magnitudes of survival, because you can survive, but it depends how they want to live.
Yeah. But that's where the short brain, front brain thinking comes in, because it's not thinking in that greater understanding of how do I want to experience while I'm existing here. It's just, I just need to exist here. And what do I need to do today to make myself get out of survival? But it's kind of this perpetual survival we're in every day.
Do you think there's now a fundamental disconnect in the societies or globally, that humans still obviously interact with each other, but we're getting further and further apart? Number one, we can communicate with somebody across the globe whenever we want to. So we are communicating, but we're further apart, but we're communicating more frequently. But then there's texting, and then there's less face-to-face contact, and there's good and there's some negative aspects to this. But I'm really interested in human interconnectedness and what you brought up about living along in the world. And I guess I'm wondering that with your program, do you see in general that is something that people open up to and find that they're maybe lacking in their life?
Yeah, there's a couple questions in there. I'd say the first with technology and really connecting with people. We are beautiful humans, and we find ways to pervert anything, including love. Like, love is this magical, pure thing, or it's meant to be anyway. And we can kill in the name of love. People can justify killing in the name of love. And so if that's something then that we can take and pervert into something disconnected, so can texting, or so can phone calls, or so can social media, or anything else. So all these mediums aren't necessarily, they're just the latest way we can pervert things, but you can also use a text message to be connected. So
Yeah.
it really is down to the individual person and how they're showing up. And I see there's so much, you'll see a lot more of what's the human construct in the world operating in this very intense way. It's all a part of the journey to get us back to those early days of what's important, what matters, this greater understanding. And unfortunately, we become a society that's learned through pain and struggle. And so what you're seeing out in the world is pain and struggle, all designed to get us back to this harmony and flow.
Which is where we spend a lot of time on, we call the resilience model of cancer care, which is basically 16 precepts or constructs for which we can gauge how resilient somebody is or improve their resilience. And one of them is nature bathing, and the other is human interconnectedness. And I think we're lacking in many departments, but I'm particularly interested in the human interconnectedness. I, as a physician, you as a mental health coach, our job is to connect with humans and to help humans improve themselves in, whatever way they can. But there's a lot of people that don't interact with humans during the day.
Yeah.
They may interact with humans, but through a computer.
Yeah. And really that's, if they can interact with other humans, that's great. But you probably see this as well as I do. Are they even interacting healthy with themselves?
Mm-hmm.
And that's step one. If we can act interact healthy with ourselves. And that's what your program really is about. And it's measuring everything in a way that how is somebody through science, through your protocols, interacting healthy with themselves. So that would be step one before you can even, regardless if they're working from home or by themselves or whatever else they're doing. It's about how we interact with ourselves in a healthy way, both in mind, body, and spirit. And your program does a great job.
Thank you.
Of really breaking it down.
Thank you. So thinking back in generalizations, are there, and so especially for the people that are listening to this and wondering, okay, well, what are those things that create negativity with my self-interaction? Are there 2 or 3 things that you've noticed in general with people that are your clients that are considered negative self-interactivity?
Well, the first step would be like, how are we empowering ourselves? So how the brain works. And up until we're about 8, 9, 10-ish, there's a variable there based on
Years
the
old?
childhood. Yeah.
Okay.
We are observing, experiencing, and creating our long-term programming in those first 10-ish years. From that point on, we're then living our programming and creating it or processing life in that way.
Okay.
And so we have a human wired programming inside of us. On top of this internal programming, we have an external, like what the world is doing, what the collective human consciousness is. And that's like teachers teaching you 1 + 1 = 2, or the color red. That is the collective human consciousness that has decided these things to be so, and they project it to us, and then we take it and add it to our programming. But it's also things like, how should a father be, or what should a mother act like?
Mhm.
We look to the collective human, we measure it, and then we then create stories based on that. So we have our internal story, and then there's an external human story.
What's more important?
The third story, the story that you want to choose to own, not the one that you've been programmed into. Because when we're kids, we don't have the ability to go, yeah, I don't want that programming.
Well, ain't that the truth?
We just live in the programming and then go fulfill it. So a lot of my work is about training in a programming of your choosing, which is a third programming, not your own human programming, not the collective consciousness programming, collective human consciousness programming, but this self-soul programming of, what do I want to feel? So in my example, for me personally, anger was a big part of my life growing up. I was very angry, battle, fights, and then scarcity and lack was.
Were you born that way? Or do you think it was a real true product of your household?
It's both. I was a crazy kid. I was wild. I probably was. I mean, literally, I peed on the doctor as soon as I came out. So like, I was coming out, yes, vinegar, literally.
No.
And so the point is that, so for most of my life up until 29, I was living the programming. And then once I don't want to be angry anymore. Well, how do I change that? I had to then train in a new way to process experiences, people, things. And judgment was another one, which drove me in anger. Just everything I wanted to choose, like, how do I want to experience life and interact with it? And so I had to sit and really work and understand what firings did I want to feel, what emotions. I didn't even know how to love myself. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror and feel acceptance or love.
Were you angry at yourself?
I was angry at everything, including myself. Yeah. And so when I went down this journey,
Well, did you want to live?
Early, there was a time when I was 16 where I didn't, but then that woke me up to just a little bit in a way. But yeah, at that point I was wanting to live with no issues there, but I didn't feel like I had any power over my life. And so when I started doing this rewiring, that's when I felt like I had choice. And once I realized I could actually choose this path of growth, of abundance, of flow, of harmony, of ease, and not have to choose pain and struggle, like, oh, there's a choice. And so then what did I need to do? And so that's where the brain training came in. That was every day sitting and working on, like, feeling love is a skill. It's not an inherent thing. Feeling happy is a skill. Feeling joy is a skill. And if you're not used to feeling those things, you're not going to be good.
Wait, you don't think that we're inherently wired to feel love or feel happiness?
No. it's a training, because if you think about it, there's many people, and I can feel it personally, and it's not even as much as my mom and dad did the best they could to love me where they were at. But again, I wanted something that I either thought I should have from the world or what I thought wasn't matching from how I felt inside. And so I was not good at love. I was not good at loving myself. I was not good at loving people. And so that was a skill I had to learn, along with joy and happiness. So I just trained these in, and these feelings and firings. And then I started showing up differently at work and showing up differently with clients and really interacting with people from these new skills that I was learning. And it was like learning how to be all over. And so that space, this third programming, the programming of choice, you can call it soul programming, you can call it the programming of choice, is exactly what you want to do and feel and be in for yourself and in this world. That's self-empowerment, because now I'm choosing. And so I'm not relying on you. I'm not relying on fancy dinners. I'm not relying on anything to be my answer, to be my truth. I'm not looking for the workout to make me feel better about myself. I'm looking to myself to make myself feel what I want to feel. And so this is a critical part of this journey for all of us. So the step one would be learning how to experience what you want to experience by self-choice, not by what's feeding you. And that's where the empowerment starts.
So the high net worth people, the CEOs, the professional athletes, the people who are operating at a certain tier of society that others are not, they got to that place a certain way. Are there certain commonalities that you see amongst those that are operating at those high levels that you don't see with some of your other clients? Or maybe they present certain challenges?
Yeah, there's just an intensity that these elite people will have. It doesn't mean it's healthy. Sometimes they're doing things in ways that aren't healthy. Even some of the greatest athletes that I've worked with, they don't necessarily see themselves. They'll use negative fuel, like fear-doubt, worry, to motivate themselves. And then once they don't stop doing well or being as, because it's like a lot of natural plus a lot of confidence based off of condition. Oh, I did well. I pitched well. I competed well. I did whatever well. Now, but the minute they stop doing well, their confidence is broken and they really struggle. So it's because they have just run off of intensity, typically negative fuel. Like, I got to make more money. I got to push harder. And they're working 80 hours a week. They might be, a millionaire or a multimillionaire, or in some cases, $100 millionaire, but they aren't doing it in a healthy, balanced, or happy way. But the commonality, intensity, no question.
Do you think that intensity is a wiring of how they were born, or was it more what they were born into? I would guess that it was how they were born, but I don't know.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's so many different people and different stories and different ways they've got there. Some of them through pure survival, some of them through good coaching from families, some of them through just not feeling like they're enough. And so they're constantly pushing. That's a big one. That's a common one. That's typically how it is.
So you really take care of yourself, and you weren't before. And then when you were 29, you had a massive, massive epiphany. So what does a day look like for you?
My days are pretty fun, pretty magical. I get up pretty early. I go through my morning routine. First thing I do is my shake, which you've gotten to experience.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a custom shake of all these amazing,
Fantastic
blends. Yeah. No fillers. Each product is its own thing. And it's 14 different things in there.
And there's a ritual to making it too.
Yeah.
Preparing it, because it's not all put together already.
Yeah, it's not all put together. And it's there's a deep meaning and purpose and being present with it and just feeling everything as you're using it. And so from there, and then my supplements, I'm very meticulous, only plant-based, whole food supplements that I take in, and I use that, my shake. And after that, as a part of my morning routine, I'm, by 6 a.m., I'm 45 ounces in of liquids.
Okay.
with the shake and all the liquid with my supplements, chlorella. I use that in drops in my water, and then it's coffee, and it's very beautiful organic coffee.
We have a really nice machine to make it, right? And that's part of the ceremony.
Yeah, it is very much, and it's a process. You know, it's very much in that. And then
why coffee for you?
It's been something that's been a part of my life, but now it's a very ritualistic thing. And coffee, I don't see it as, oh, it has these benefits or it has these deficits or anything. I just see it as something that resonates with me. It doesn't always resonate with everyone else, but I really love it.
So you're not trying to get a buzz. You know that it's something that your body accepts and does well with.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a particular strain or species of coffee?
I import it from Italy. I have a place in Europe that I get it from, and I get it shipped here.
Okay. What's after coffee?
Meditation, and then it's on with my day. And then depending on the time of the year, like in the winter, the sauna's in part of my morning ritual.
Mm-hmm.
In the summer, I don't sauna as much because I'm sauning when I'm training outside.
Okay.
And then I cold plunge at night.
So your day, when you say go about your day, that going to work, coaching clients, those types of things, you do writing, developing.
Sure.
And there is one project that I definitely want to save some time to talk about here in a few minutes. Okay, so and then you have time for food.
Yeah, we make our own food at home.
Okay.
All plant-based.
Okay. And you take time to do that?
Every day. Make our own toothpaste.
Toothpaste?
Yeah, we make our own mouthwash. We pretty much, like, just, if we can make it, we will.
Well, and then about your training, when do you, not brain training, I mean your physical conditioning and physical, yes, when do you, and you do that outside all the time or just in the summer?
Mostly in the summer. I'm a desert creature. So like the hotter it is, that's when I'm out. Like if it's 110 or 113, I'm running outside and happy as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lifting or training out, not lifting, but training outside.
In the sun.
As happy as I can be. And I just love the heat. In the winter, I'll train inside, but I train twice a day right before lunch. I'll get done with the session and I'll train and then eat. And then at the end of my day, I'll train again. And one's cardio and one's strength training.
Okay.
And then, and I've been training for a year straight, just about a year. Definitely all this year. I'm 100% this year, but last time I missed a training was like September.
So every day you don't take a day off? Okay. The heat, I've said many times, I come from Chicago, so I love the summer, but I wasn't used to this type of heat.
Mm-hmm.
Been out here over 30 years now.
Wow.
So I get it. But I crave training in the heat right now. There is something to it. And for years, I found for me that summers are incredibly tolerable if you just welcome them and you exercise in the heat. And I don't need as much air conditioning and it's fine. Going outside, getting in a hot car, it's just all the same, And 119 feels like 101, feels like 98. It's kind of all the same. We have a gym at our house and it's in one of our garages. So I open the garage door. I don't put on the fan. I don't put on the air conditioning but I'm not in the sun at that time, but I do go out for, either a primary run or just sort of like an after, weightlifting run a mile or 2 miles or something. And that's in the sun. And that could be, on weekends, it could be 11, a.m. Weekdays, it could be, somewhere around 8 or something like that. In the summer. And what I've really enjoyed is wearing a weighted vest, in particular one that you designed.
Yeah.
I really like to talk about that because it's a form of a biohack. It is a form of, I think, mental conditioning. It's certainly a form of physical conditioning. And can we talk about it?
Yeah.
I really like to talk about, I'm going to pull one up.
You have to put it up. I brought the one that how this came about is one of my high net worth clients, I was working with him and one of my high net worth clients, I was working with him and with all my clients, it's not just the mindset. We may start there, but we're talking about a whole well-rounded person. So that's how you exercise, what you do for exercise, what you eat, what you drink in a very mindful and healthy way. And that's just whatever his the greatest design for you. And that can be meat, it could be weights, it could be body training, whatever it is, it's custom to you. So how this came about is one of my clients, I was trying to give him weighted vest, and because it was just about maximizing his time and being more efficient and having a little bit of load on him.
And so wait, before you talk about design, why is it important? What does it mean to maximize? What does it mean to have fractional weight or load on him?
Yeah.
And how much does this vest weigh?
That vest right there weighs 8 pounds.
Okay.
And so what it means to maximize is our bodies, just like you said earlier, will respond to the load you're asking for. If you use your body more, it's going to build more muscle. If you use your body less, it's going to use less muscle, and your muscle will then become less. So ultimately, if you can train and load, but not too much load, just enough load, i.e. fractional weight, then you're going to ask your body to create a long-term change because it thinks you've gained like 8 pounds. When it thinks you've gained 8 pounds, especially the way this vest is designed, and we can talk about that,
I'd like to.
then it's going to give you long-term changes, which means literally your body will create more space in your spine. It'll increase the fluidity in the joints. The stabilizer muscles will get stronger. Everything will activate. The core engages more. And so if you can wear a fractionally loaded vest that's tight to your body, that kind of disappears, well, truly disappears once you put it
I
on.
don't even know I have it on when I'm working out.
That's right. Then the body can't discern the difference between your weight and the vest weight. When you have a heavier vest, first of all, it's very much foreign to the body, and the body's just trying to survive through whatever workout you're trying to put it
You
through.
mean like 20 pounds?
Yeah, and that's
Right.
just a short-term thing, and your body isn't trying to make long-term changes. It's just trying to hang on and manage. And typically, because you're adding so much weight, you throw your body out of balance, you put yourself in awkward positions, and none of that is healthy for you.
Maybe in sympathetic mode, a little bit more.
So the fractional weight is something that allows you to create a long-term change in the body, and the body will adapt. So then once you take it off, what's amazing is you still get all the benefits of the long-term change without the extra weight. And how it came about is giving my client a vest, and he didn't like any of them because they pulled on his neck. And so I just kind of gave up. We never really talked about it again. And then one day he's like, hey, I'm going to send you something. I'm like, okay. And so he sent me the first version of this men's vest. It was a very rogue version. And I put it on and I kind of felt it. I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. But when I put it on and I felt the heat and I felt the fractional weight and I felt the compression, I was like, whoa. It took me back to my wrestling days in college. And I was able to move quickly, but at the same time, I was working way harder. So it didn't slow me down, but it really had to work. I'm sweating, I'm detoxifying, my muscles are nice and supported and yet loose at the same time. It was so wild. I'm like, I called him up. I said, you've got something here. And I just,
He had developed it.
yeah,
That
he had
prototype.
he had developed the first prototype. And I said, hey man, because I'd lived in Asia for a while. And so I said, hey, if you ever decide to develop this thing, I'll go to Asia for you and babies. No problem.
Okay.
You know, and that was kind of a joke, and then maybe 6 months, a year later, he's like, hey, I want to do this thing. And so he's like, but I want you to be more involved. So I thought about it, and then I said, well, let me play with it. And so I took his original design, and then I took it somewhere here local in Arizona, beautiful place in Mesa, and just designed what you were wearing.
Okay.
And this is an important thing because of how it's cut. It's important because every movement, the vest is designed to fit within this in such a beautiful way. So when you move the shoulders, you have the perfect bend. You have your body doesn't feel like it's fighting in anywhere. All the cuts are designed so that when you move, the vest moves with you. And that's why it disappears. The actual material itself, the neoprene, has this air in it. So it has holes. So it allows you to breathe a little bit more in all the right parts. Down the spine, it breathes really well. On the sides, it breathes really well. And then it makes you sweat in all the great, like the abs, it really makes you sweat in the back, in the shoulders and along the lower back muscles. So it's really designed well to do that, to be in that space. And so it's been really it's been a really fun thing. And so all I did is get really quiet when I designed that and just really think like how being an ex-athlete, how would I want this vest to feel? What do I want it to look like? What materials are important? And so that's what I did is I took in what his original prototype was and then redesigned it into what you see today. And then the women's vest I designed from scratch. Like those are my own from my head out into the world.
So do you train with the vest?
Yeah, I do. The vest is just like everything in my life. There's nothing that I'm not doing that or sharing that isn't something that I do myself, whether it be in coaching or in how I train. The vest is truly amazing.
I have to say, I don't think I want to train without your not your, but the vest. I mean, the one that you designed. I have told so many of my friends, so many of my colleagues. I mean, we have an affiliation with your company now. We're affiliates because it really has made a difference, and I'm so happy to be introducing it to our patients because they need exactly what you were talking about, just with their spine and the health and the core, and it is brain training. And now, running with it was not something that I thought I would ever do, but now craving the heat. And you and I had talked about how there's a sustenance of heat, even because of the compression and because of the material, that even after your workout, if you keep it zipped up and on for a little bit, you still retain some of that heat. Why is that heat so important?
The heat does two things really, really well. It nourishes the muscles so that it increases the blood flow and allows them to relax so they'll get their optimal performance. They're not tightening up. They're not getting as tense. The heat allows them to release and perform optimally. And then the second thing, not only with the blood flow, because when you get warmer, the heart has to pump more to help cool you down. And it's like a radiator in a car in the in the antifreeze. The blood is like that. And so when you start heating up, the heart will pump more and it tries to flush and cool things down. And it's also then detoxifying. And your lymph nodes will help release. You have so much more that you will let go of in this process. And so there's detoxification and optimal performance of the muscles because you're putting them in the best environment for performance.
Yeah. And I was thinking too, a lot of my patients or our patients here, they don't like to exercise or they don't love to exercise. It's just not what they like to do. Or some of them are like, I really do. I just don't have the time. So I say, I'll tell you what. My rule is and has been that we're counting exercise as if you've sweated for 20 minutes. And I'm like, I don't care if it's 2 drops on your brow. At least you've changed your oxygen dynamics, you changed your biochemistry because you've changed the heat in your body and your body's now releasing it. So if you've had a drop of sweat that you've produced and you're sweating for 20 minutes, I'm going to count it as exercise. Really easy to do outside in Phoenix right nowadays, a little more difficult in the winter. But adding fractional weight in the compression and the heat component is going to allow people to get to that sweat faster and sustain it a little longer, or at least get there faster so they don't have to put as much time in. So, and be benefiting from the fractional weight on top of that.
Yeah. And I have 2 stories about this where it's the health benefits that are passive health benefits.
Okay.
I was remodeling my bathroom and I was pulling some stuff out and I don't know, I just tweaked my back a little bit and I'm like, oh, that didn't feel good. And so what did I do? I just put the weighted vest on. Not only did it loosen everything up, but it helped stabilize my core. And I just wore the vest for like 2 days straight and my back was and during the time, it wasn't, you know how like when you kind of tweak it and you're getting stiff and you get
happy. I do.
I just keep my vest on and everything stays good.
That's good
my
advice.
muscles stayed warm. And so I didn't have to get out, to like move slow or anything like because of the vest itself and just wearing it. It was huge. And when you wear it for a long period of time, you really feel it. The second example was when I first started cold plunging, I cold plunge at about 56 degrees. I'm not one of those 39-degree guys. I
need 56.
Yeah. Once you're below 60, you get all the benefits. But 56 is a really optimal. And I'm in for...
I did a 56 yesterday.
Yeah, 10 to 13 minutes. And well, my knees really started hurting. Everything else, it was super beneficial, but except my knees. And so I stopped cold plunging, but my knees were still really aching. And I'm like, I'm going to put my vest on because I know my vest will ask for more fluidity and more fluid in the body, creating space in the knees. And so if I put the vest on, I wore it for a day,
done.
Knees were back to normal.
Well, that is something that I'd noticed. I've been, since I would say since before high school. So maybe, I mean, I've been running basically all my life, right? Maybe since 7th or 8th grade, and have done long distance races, but I'd consider myself a trail runner. And so I love pounding uphill and I love pounding downhill. And my knees have been a real problem my entire life, basically. I've had chondromalacia patellae, I've had Osgood-Schlatter's disease, I've had one arthroscopic surgery. I probably need another, but my mindset was, yeah, my body will take care of it. And it really has, and was able to run really long distances on the trail even after knee surgery. I was, and part of the reason I hadn't been running as much the last couple of years is because of my knees. As I gained a little bit of weight and I gotten older and things caught up with me, and so I started biking more. What I have found is I went back to ultra. You and I shared that zero drop experience that you and I like. You have the Olympus, right? And I'm in the Timp 5. So I'm so happy to be back in a zero drop. And Olivia, I know you're in an ultra too. You got to give props to Olivia over there.
Yeah,
This all together.
he's awesome.
But putting on the vest, I have told my family, like, it slowed me down, improved my form, and now I'm speeding up, so I have 8 more pounds on me, but it's changed the way that my foot hits the ground. And with the zero drop, my knees are going through changes. I know. And fluidity is one thing, but I don't have the same knee pain that I had. I don't have the pain. So it is really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And when I say wear the vest all day, I mean 10 hours.
So I've got this one out.
That's the executive. We've called it the boardroom vest. That was also, I designed that from scratch as well.
What is this weigh? 6?
That's 6 pounds. And it's meant to be stylish. It's meant to just wear every day in your casual life. It's a really beautiful, it really corrects your posture. The autonomic response that the body has to it will engage your core in fractional, but in the best way fractional, where it's not fatiguing you, but it's creating a better posture, better strength. And then for many people, I can't tell you how many people, as soon as they put it on, they feel like it's a weighted blanket, and it helps calm them from anxiety or stress.
We've had this here for a couple weeks now, and our staff has tried it on, and they're like, ooh, this does feel cozy, and there is a calming effect. I didn't really think about it, but now that I think about it, it's like, I do feel cozy.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
Yeah, the owner of the company, Brad, he challenged me to make this and the women's vest that I made, and he's like, this is what I want. And
yeah, my wife Debbie wears the Aion women's vest. I mean, not only is it like incredibly cool, like the whole design is so awesome. It looks great. It feels good. She wears it around the house. I mean, amazing job.
Thank you. I'm really excited about the women's ones for 2 reasons. One, because there really hasn't been anything designed for women, and 2, how deep I had to go in this altered state of vision and understanding, because I'm not a female. I don't know the female body like a female does. But when I could just close my eyes and see the perfect thing, and it wasn't in the world, like the vest Brent gave me was the same kind of concept with the weight packs, as far as the slugs and the foam, like that's from him. But this one was just all from this greater vision or space. And so that's what makes those so much fun, because how many women just really appreciate they have a vest that really fits
them. Yeah, absolutely. It's like when water packs for running came, there was no woman specific fit. So around the front, it was a little bit difficult for them. And then I remember, like, I think it was Ultraspire came out with, women specific vest maybe about 10 or 15 years ago. That was really exciting. So it makes sense. Do you think we'll be able to get a display here at the clinic?
Yeah, I actually talked to Jordan, who's Brent's son. He's running the company now, and we still have the mannequins. So
let's do it.
We'll get those. And
I think about my patients. We have such a huge population of women who have estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, who are postmenopausal, and who are, a lot of them who are on anti-estrogen drugs, some who are not. But bone density is an issue. And I can't wait to help get this on them. These fractional, just a little bit of weight, gap their spine and start challenging the bones and say, hey, let's remineralize these.
Yeah. So, and a lot of women that have a challenge with even sweating based on hormone and things like that. And so this kind of doesn't give you a choice when you put
absolutely.
And then you think about how much that will then flush things out of their system and give them even a greater chance, along with your protocol, of balance.
I feel like with all the sweating that I've done out in the heat, and especially with the vest, like there isn't any toxins in here. I mean, I haven't done any urine tests for like it's every summer is just a massive detox, and you must feel the same way because you work out midday in the sun with a vest.
Yeah, I love it so much.
Well, you do amazing work, and I'm really looking forward to a continuing relationship, referring patients to you to work together to really help that mental, emotional, and brain resilience factor for them. And it's such an important part. It's not the work that I do myself, but I understand when it's important and how it's important, and most importantly, why it's important. So let's keep going and let's keep talking.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
And yeah, this has been amazing.
You're welcome. That was Rubin On Point. Really exciting episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on Rubin On Point, a podcast about cancer, resilience, and most of all, about being human. I hope today's conversation inspired you to see new possibilities for growth, healing, and strength in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little extra resilience in their day. Remember, no matter what challenges you're facing, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about building a life of purpose, connection, and vitality. Until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and take care of yourself and those around you.